You're watching The Shift Asia. Today, we're exploring how one of the world's most iconic chocolate makers is working to ensure a more sustainable and resilient cocoa future. Joining us is Fay Fay Choo, Asia Cocoa Director at Mars Wrigley Asia. And Mars has been making chocolate for over a century, but beyond the sweetness, there's a serious commitment to sustainability, innovation, and farmer empowerment. We'll dive into how Mars is tackling agricultural challenges, empowering local farmers, and ensuring that cocoa, the lifeblood of chocolate, continues to bring joy for generations to come. Fay Fay, good to speak to you. Now, Indonesia is the world's seventh largest cocoa producer, yet the industry faces mounting challenges from aging trees to pests, climate change, and declining yields. So can you paint a picture of the current cocoa landscape in Indonesia and why Mars decided to deepen its research and sustainability efforts there?
Thank you for having me. Yes, indeed, Indonesia is the world's seventh largest cocoa producer and the largest in Asia. The country's cocoa sector is really at a pivotal moment. Despite its scale, we are facing mounting structural challenges, as you mentioned, aging trees, pests and disease, and the need for better farmer support in order for us to attract younger talent to enter the industry. So Indonesian cocoa farmers, as we mentioned, we have pest and disease issues like cocoa pod borer and black pod, and broader agricultural challenges are exacerbating the situation. For example, degradation in soil health, ineffective farm management, climate change, and limited access to high-quality planting material and financing are further hindering productivity and sustainability in the industry. Limited science and research has been dedicated to cocoa, and inefficient technology has led to yields that are as low as 1/10 of their potential.
Right.
The cocoa industry itself is very crucial for the livelihoods of more than 1 million farmers across all provinces in Indonesia and covering almost 1.4 million hectares of farmland, according to the Indonesia Statistics Agencies. Now, while these farm-level challenges are constraining supply, I want to paint a good picture on the demand side as well. Consumer demand for cocoa and chocolate products in Asia continues to rise rapidly with emerging markets and coming into more income and So this widening gap or this regional gap between what the industry can produce and what the market needs continues to widen. So if you look at what Cocoa Association of Asia's data shows, Asian cocoa bean as a whole has declined significantly from the past decade, from 485,000 tons in 2012-13 to under 300,000 tons in 2022-23.
Right.
Within this, Indonesia, as the largest producer in the region, saw the output fall from 410,000 to about 180,000 tons over the same period. That said, in the last 5 years, we've seen a stabilization of the crop at around 180,000 tons annually.
Right.
So while the longer-term trend of decline has stabilized, we believe that now is the point where we can start to turn the trajectory in the positive again, particularly driven by high cocoa prices, which is leading a lot of farmers to be enthusiastic about coming back to farm again. Right. So we see that this can only be done through collaboration, and it's critical, as Indonesia is not just a key market growth for us, but also a vital origin, and hence for Mars, as a family-owned business, our commitment goes beyond sourcing. We would like to work on science and technology that can improve yields, right, but again, partner closely with governments, multilateral agencies, and our supply chain partners to really help strengthen farmer resilience, improve productivity, and in that, attract the next generation of cocoa growers who will come and sustain this industry for decades to come.
Right. And Mars has also invested significantly in research stations in East Luwu and Pangkep, and recently opened the Cocoa Advanced Research Laboratory, or CAL. So how do these investments translate into tangible impact for farmers on the ground, and what makes, I guess, the Pangkep research particularly significant?
So at Mars, we see the revitalization or rehabilitation of the Indonesia's cocoa industry as a shared responsibility, one that begins with science, but then brings tangible benefits for farmers through an educational process.
Right.
And through the Cocoa for Generation strategy, we are investing in research and innovation to make cocoa farming more resilient, climate resilient, productive, and definitely inclusive. So the opening of our Cocoa Advanced Research Laboratory at our Cocoa Research Station was a major milestone for Mars in this about 15-year journey. It's a state-of-the-art facility designed not just to study cocoa genetics, but to also accelerate open innovation and raise productivity in Indonesia and beyond Indonesia. We would like to take the learnings from Indonesia and go to other regions as well.
Right.
So one of the significant and important findings in Mars research recently was that transitioning from what we call a monoclone or single clone farming into a multi or polyclonal farming is important. So imagine in order to make cocoa productive, you need different mixes of clone to be in a farm in order for it to improve productivity by as much as 50%.
Right.
And so our work just doesn't stop in the lab. Obviously, real impact comes when this research can be translated into the hands of farmers through innovation. And so we are constantly thinking about other mechanization and other innovation that can make harvesting easier, etc., and can make management of pests and disease easier. So the Cocoa Academy is our educational facility that trains farmers and agripreneurs, people who, very highly talented individuals who will understand the science and bring it back to the villages. And we also promote diversified agroforestry systems that can help to strengthen soil health and help farms and farmers adapt to extreme weather, as well as provide alternative income to farmers.
Right. Okay, so you mentioned about from the research that you've done that switching from monoclonal to multiclonal farming can boost productivity by 50%. Maybe you can explain a little bit what multicloning farming means in simple terms and how it helps farmers achieve the better yields and more resilient crops. Paint me that picture. Yeah.
Multi-clone is the planting of multiple compatible clones in a farm so that they can cross-pollinate instead of relying only on a single clone. So the problem with clones in Indonesia is they are self-incompatible. So if you plant more of the same thing, it doesn't actually help the pollination or the fruit setting. So at the same time, different clones brings in different strengths. Some have higher yield, some come in early, others have different resistance to different pests and disease or heat and stress tolerant. So by combining these varieties, think about it as farmers building a more balanced and resilient farm. And this approach reduces the risk of crop loss and allows the farm to reach its full potential. So imagine you walk into a garden where all the flowers only purple color. Not very exciting, right? But if you have flowers of many colors in one garden, it makes it way more resilient and actually very much beautiful as well. So the way we're thinking about it is how do we get farmers to transition from monoclone to multi-clone, which of course boosts up productivity, but also think about it how it can be grown with other crops as well. So that the farmers get different income streams and we get more climate adaptation within the microclimate in the farm.
So you get better soil, and then you can probably get more consistent revenue and not just be dependent on cocoa in that sense, right? So this is, you're also promoting diversified cocoa agroforestry, where farmers plant other crops alongside cocoa. So how does this approach strengthen farms against climate challenges and help stabilize their incomes? And what are some examples of these complementary crops that the farmers are growing?
Diversification or cocoa agroforestry practices is, to be honest, being done by a lot of farmers globally, but in a more ad hoc. So what we're trying to do is bring in a more structured way of planning the farm. And definitely agroforestry, as you mentioned, can have soil, better farm resilience, whether it's soil, pollination activity, all that leads to better productivity. And by mixing different crops, farmers have income. Think about it as throughout the year. So when cocoa is the low season, durian comes in. They can still pay for school fees as well as fertilizer. So it is a cash flow as well as multiple years. We think about short-term, medium-term, and long-term crops that comes in at weekly and monthly. So it's a process that actually mixing these crops, it buffers against commodity price fluctuation and it ensures the stable income stream. In Indonesia, like I mentioned, farmers already grow a range of complementary crops. Short terms like chili, vegetables, very good for nutrition, and medium to long-term fruit trees, banana, durian, avocados, high-value trees like patai, jengkol, and all that, and even timber species such as teak and mahogany. Now, these systems provide additional income, and it builds out an ecosystem that's way more resilient, better for the pollinators and the beneficial insect, and we see better pest and disease or lower pest and disease pressures as well.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Mars Cocoa Academy and the Cocoa Doctor Agripreneur program are examples of knowledge sharing in action, and you're sharing that a little earlier. So how do these programs work, and how are they changing the way farmers view and manage their cocoa farms?
Okay, great one. So I mentioned science has to be in the hands of farmers. All these great loans we need to propagate for. Imagine to go after 1 million hectares, you need 800 million trees.
Yeah.
And the only way is through an educational process. So in 2023, we started the Cocoa Academy in 2014. And since then, in 2023 alone, for example, we trained the trainer. So think of it as a training or trainer concept, where about 640 farmers last year alone, 2023, came through and studied the agroforestry and agronomy training.
Right.
Now, through these, then they become equipped with the clones and the best practices. They also then go back to their villages and become a cocoa agripreneur, experts who can then propagate this planting material. They'll build nurseries and make millions of this. And then they, in return, will sell this to farmers and provide the extension and coaching to farmers as a business. It's the follow-up, after follow-up sales service. Because if farmers are successful, they come back to them to buy more planting material and other inputs. So that's how we will see how the research and the promotion of these agroforestry practices can further help farmers back in the villages and inspire the next generation to see that, there is a viable future in cocoa farming.
Right.
So also we look at training, we partner with multiple partners, to see, for example, in Indonesia, we work with USAID and IFAD and multiple other partners to bring a lot of youth and farmers through the system so that they can then go back to the villages and again propagate these approaches.
Right.
We recognize that producing food that is sustainable for the planet is getting increasingly more difficult. If we want to feed 10 billion people by 2050, and we need to make some big structural changes, and it's really village-driven, community driving their own socio-economic difference, development that will make a difference, to the rural economies that we depend on to grow our food and the raw materials that we make our products.
Right. And you've mentioned that collaboration, especially with governments, NGOs, and funding partners like IFAD, is critical. So what does meaningful collaboration look like for Mars in building a modern, inclusive ecosystem? And how do you ensure the benefits reach smallholder farmers' sustainability?
Yeah, so meaningful collaboration simply for us means put the farmers at the center of the ecosystem, understand what the needs are, and every actor in the ecosystem plays a role that fits in within that benefits everyone. So it fits with our mutuality principle, which is only a shared benefit can endure for 100 years and the next 100. So the role of governments, for example, is critically important to give us policies and enabling environment to operate in. We have and we work with local partners and NGOs to work with society, with the communities as well, to strengthen women, for example, and youth empowerment. We also work with development agencies. So it requires a whole ecosystem to come together. And two examples of programs that we actually operate in is Active Indonesia program, where we collaborated with USAID to promote the agroforestry practices that addresses, like I mentioned, climate change as well as improving smallholder livelihoods. And another one is Grow Her Cacao, which is an award-winning program that lifts up women as leaders in their farming family and in communities, ensure voices are represented and heard in business and family decisions. And Grow Her Cacao, for example, we are working across 4,000 women in cocoa farming.
Right. It literally takes a village. At the end of the day, Mars Wrigley is a business, right? How do you balance commercial priorities with long-term sustainability goals? Especially in emerging markets like Indonesia, where costs and climate pressures are high.
Yes, so as a family business, our purpose at Mars says the world we want tomorrow starts with how we do business today. And it means that commercial growth and sustainability are not competing priorities, they move in tandem. We don't see sustainability as a cost to doing business, but it's a catalyst for resilient supply.
Right.
It's a catalyst where, for long-term value creation. And especially in an emerging market like Indonesia, sustainability is essential to the continuity of the cocoa industry. We invest in initiatives that improves productivity, climate smart, also of course enabling our growth in Asia and emerging markets. And so Indonesia investing in sustainability is critical, both as a future Indonesia as a consumer market, but also as a strategic supplier.
Right. And what innovations, whether it's genetics, data, or supply chain transparency, excite you most about the next decade of sustainable cocoa production?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I've always said there's no silver bullet and one magic drop that will solve all of our problems. It's usually a bundle of innovations. But also sometimes let's think about innovation beyond technology, right? We tend to think innovation is a better clone or a better practice. But for me, social innovation is also a very interesting thing about how we can help benefit communities.
Right.
It starts with how we change behavior at the community level, at the farming level. It starts with how we think about farming differently. We do need to understand actually the old ways of farming in the organic, in using more biological practices is actually very, very useful as well in this modern day and age. So you need the ancient wisdom, the wisdom of the elders, as well as new modern technology that give us better analytics of what should we be applying here. So it is a way that combines our knowledge and wisdom and also gentle and nurturing for the environment. So for me, I'm truly excited to see this more about how this change comes together at the village cluster level, taking into our learnings from the past and moving into where we need to go tomorrow. And so we tend to focus our activities at the village level, developing what we call Agripreneur development through our science and academy, and really seeing that the village has to take charge of their own socioeconomic development, and that's where the real social change can be very, very exciting.
Right.
We run a series of youth camps all over Indonesia, and we are seeing such a very enthusiastic uptake by the youth interested to do farming again, but also cocoa is making money for them, right?
Yeah.
So, and these youth will do farming differently from their parents. They want to use technology, they want to use better clones, mechanization and all. So I think for me, the next exciting thing is seeing this movement come to play with the women and youth that we're investing in agriculture, and that we're building a better farming system for people, planet, and businesses.
All right. And this is a reminder that sustainability isn't just about protecting the planet, it's also about empowering people, preserving livelihoods, and ensuring that every bar of chocolate tells the story of shared prosperity. Thanks for being with us. Fay Fay Choo from Mars Wrigley. You've been watching The Shift Asia.